Okay, hope you have enjoyed the lunch. I would like to introduce our next presenter, my colleague Ivan Andrijić. He will tell us about Agile waterfalls. Ivan, please.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Ivan. I come from the company ASSECO Southeastern Europe. Once I heard the story about the wife that was making a supper, and she took a steak and she sliced the edge of it and put it in a frying pan. And her husband asked her, "Why are you doing that? Is that part poisonous or something?" And she said, "I'm just doing what my mom does. She chops off the edges of the steak." And then they arrived at her mom and she asked her, "Mom, why are you chopping all these parts of the steak?" And she said, "But darling, I have a very small pan and it's a square shape." So that is a story, what happens in our companies, where we are following the same procedures when the time changes. So if one tool is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So what I'm going to present here is the idea that depending on your process, on your development process, you need to adjust it accordingly to your organization. Don't expect your organization to change to your model. So first I'm going to describe you the product that we developed during the year that we introduced this new development process. It's called ASSECO HCE. What we had to develop was the digitization of the card, taking the plastic MasterCard card and digitized it onto the phone. Also, this was the user experience that we had to follow. For low-value transaction payments, you have to take your phone, go on the POS terminal, tap, and the transaction is done. For high-value transaction payments, you have to tap and sign the slip or, I don't know, enter your digital card PIN. And that was what we had to accomplish. Also, we had to implement it inside of the existing payment network without changing any POS firmwares, without changing any protocol. We had to implement it all. And the only component that needs to be changed is this HCE at the issuer side. So we had to certify everything, and server and the client side, and we had to go through the certification process of security evaluation in the Netherlands and functional testing in Germany. So it was a very big project, and it was very challenging for us because we never did that kind of a large project scale. And to say know-how about implementation, none of my developers knew how the POS terminal works. To implement this kind of a scale, we had to change our perspective of viewing how to make the project. So first we had to identify our stakeholders. Everybody is a stakeholder, and you need to identify what actually they need. Everybody has certain needs. Our stakeholders was our developers, our clients. We were working alongside the Zagrebačka banka from UniCredit to develop this. We had our sales, our marketing. You have to think about them all. And mostly is the sponsors and the business unit managers, because they're going to challenge your project and give you the budget or not. So this is what we identified about them, what they need. This is just a small scale of about their needs. So we sat down and put the waterfall and the agile model on the floor and identified, is it suitable for these stakeholders? And we identified that the waterfall model was more for business unit managers, marketing, sales, and sponsors. But developers and clients need agile. They need the working environment that is changing, that is challenging, and our clients actually needed something at the end that was usable. If you follow the waterfall model, what we did before is develop for a long time, then try testing. You don't have budget for testing, you haven't tested it, you produce it into a release, and then your client has tons of bugs that he has to deal with. So if you look very hard, there's a wolf in this sheep code. So we had to do this. We put the Agile and produce the sandbox inside of the waterfall model. And how to do that? Actually, I was looking for a nice word for that, but you have to become the master of the whys. You have to take the same information and present it to these stakeholders so they can read it the way they know how to read it. These folks here on the left, they only read Excel tables, they don't know nothing about Agile, they don't know nothing about this kind of approach, and they don't like it, believe me. Okay, so we had to make a focus. Budget was the major problem, how to build it so that we can work Agile and fulfill the needs of our stakeholders. And we had to make early stage sales and marketing presentations and documentation for our sales and marketing. So it was a challenging job how to do it. But for the budget, this is the, imagine that you have somebody that tells you, build me this mansion, I'm going to give you tons of money. That is the company that I would like to work for. But reality is this. This is what happens inside of the waterfall model. You have limited budget, you have limited time, and the client is going to arrive every 2 weeks to see where you're going, or can we adjust this, can we adjust that. If you see this show about home improvement, that is exactly the Agile. Oh, we found some cables that we need to pull out. It is less, $1,000 less, so we can't buy these chairs, etc., etc. That is the reality of the Agile. But what the market wants and what is reality when your sales comes is this. Build me this house, tell me how much it's going to cost and when it's ready. When can I move in? And then you're stuck with the Agile. There's no way you can produce this. Actually, in our company, we did try this by using Agile, and it produced only for us paying the penalties. So we produced the new approach of introducing this sandbox. So how to make the budget? List your must-haves. That is something that you're promising your stakeholders that you must have. What is the mandate of the MasterCard water specification that you must have? Then you add the nice-to-haves, and you add risk to them. And then you hide the nice-to-have inside of the must-haves. So you have to become the master of whys. But you will say that your sponsors may challenge you, but you'll figure out how to hide it. Trust me, it can be done. Because at the end, if you produce, if they tell you it can be done in less time for these must-haves, at the end, you're going to produce the product that is not sellable. You're going to iterate again, and it's going to cost much more. So this hiding of this effort is going to give you this budgeting for working on Agile and producing actually the product that is going to be sellable on the market. Okay, so this is the illustration of what I was talking about now. You have the budget of must-have, you identify the risk, and you add up to nice-to-have. That is your budget that you're presenting to your sponsors. Actual one is one neat product that is going on time, on a schedule, and it's fine. So must-have has risen a little bit because of the uncertainty, but your risk buffer is budgeting it. Actual 2 is the project in problem. And the last one is our project that happened. We actually had to rebudget because of the large scale of uncertainty. And that was not because of the estimation of the effort of the people, but it was because of the cost of the accredited laboratories in Germany and Netherlands. So if we had that kind of information, we would most certainly fit within the budget. But that information was not addressed to us at that time because we had to budget 1 year before starting the project. And project was over a year, and it was 12,000 man-hours. It was a large-scale project. And at the end, you have this. It's a Microsoft project. From the perspective of your sponsors and business unit manager, you're done. You can go home. But your job starts now. And you have to lie to them that you're going through this project, and you have to report according to this. And this part that we changed was the most important part of our success on the project, is the operations. And I'm very proud of that we introduced this finally in the company, because the Agile was very hard to implement. So what we built was the project governance document. That document was identifying everything that the new developer needs to know how to operate in his working environment. That is the document that doesn't need to go over 20 pages, because imagine that you're giving the developer a 100 pages document. He's not going to read it. He's just going to toss it in garbage and it's useless. It has to be less than 15 pages so that the developer can read it and everything is clear and crystal clear so that he can go on with it. So what we did, we wrote down all team members, everything, interactions, who's responsible for what, who they report, who works with whom. Project flow, what do we expect when you're going to do development, when is testing, who's preparing specification, and you can see we're going in parallel. At one time and one sprint, software architects are writing specification, testers are testing, and developers are developing. So using a parallelism. You need to write down documentation, how you're going to write it, versioning, everything. And environments, you have to list it before you start. Because if you start, it's going to be hell. Nobody's going to go anything what's going on. Documentation, this is very important for your sales and marketing. What documentation you're going to produce and who's responsible for it. This is everything written before even first line of code was written. We introduced the mandatory commits, mandatory code reviews by using the Git. And we identified, copied it from the internet, this procedure that nobody can commit the code unless the architect reviews it by using the branching. And versioning had to be defined. So what was the benefit of this? Because you all know, project of 1 year, you're going to lose some of the employees, some are going to arrive, there's going to be fluctuations. But using this, I'm happy to say that within 1 week, senior developer is fully operational. He can be, he can work immediately. In 1 day, business analyst describes him all this mess of the MasterCard specification. Second day, he can read all these documents. And the third day, we wrote down on the Confluence page everything that the developer needs to have to start. So test was very easy. I asked my architect, give me that page. I start to run the code, I can't run it. It's not good, start again. So if the new developer can't install IDE, configure Maven, fetch the code, run Jenkins, if nothing of that is not written, it's not going to work. Because using this, we had a lot of fluctuations. And people were very operational within the week. And our architect was actually doing his job. He was doing specification. He was not mentoring. So the final product, we wrote down over, I would say this is, I think over 160,000 lines of codes. Android application has over 130. And we spent around 90% of our budget. So we were within the budget. And this is the most important thing, 70 to 80% drop on production bugs. So I would say the Agile is very important because that kind of a drop in production bugs is very important. Before, we were fixing with our clients bugs in productions, and we're working for the banks. And you know what is fixing the bugs in production with the banks. And the most important thing is this last one. Developers were happy. They were actually working in an environment that they wanted to work with. There was no stress, they were stress-free, and you can feel that they were actually doing something that they were proud of. And at the end, this was the final product. It's actually now in production from Unicredit Bank, Zagrebačka banka. We added this SDK into their application, their mobile banking. It's called mWallet. The user can see all his the physical cards. He just selects the cards that are eligible for digitization. He waits, card is digitized, and he can just go on the POS terminal and tap, and he's done. He can pay. And that can be done because inside of this mobile application that's actually developed by ASSECO, there's a mobile token that uses two-factor authentication that actually MasterCard accepted as a credentials for authenticating for the enrollment of the cards. If this was not the case, authentication digitization card would be like this. Somebody would arrive, get activation code, write down the activation code, take his card, picture it, rewrite the pens and stuff like that, and it would take a lot of time. And this couldn't be done if we use the waterfall model. Why? Because we were working with our client all the time using the Agile methodology. And to our sponsors, we were presenting information using this Microsoft project. And how do you do that? We use Sprint to write down our tasks. And whenever you add the task, assign it to a specific milestone within the Microsoft project, so you can manage it. And everybody's happy. Your sponsors are happy because you have produced all must-haves. Your clients happy because those must-haves actually are making a sellable product. Your developers are happy because they work in an agile environment. Your sales and marketing are happy because they have documentation ready a year before the production. And I would say that there's no excuse within any organization not using agile, because it can be done. But only thing that needs to work out is this product management layer, where you need to become master of whys every single day. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for questions. Any questions? So thank you.